Hey class, so this is going to be the description of how to do the converting between forms of proportional relationships. So you're going to see that up here on this workspace number 3, and we're going to click on Let's Go. Now, when that comes up, many times you're going to notice that it says you should do the step-by-step example. And so I know sometimes people like to skip that and go right to the problem because they want the workspace to be done, but then they don't understand how to do it. So I'm going to go through the step-by-step example first. So the way that this works is the step-by-step is actually describing this to you. So it says here in this, we're talking about the winner of the grand prize at the Nobody's Home cooking competition is a chocolate tuna fish sandwich. Actually sounds kind of gross. The recipe calls for 5 cans of tuna fish for every 7 cups of chocolate milk. So then it says define the variables to represent the 2 quantities. So here the scenario is describing 2 quantities that vary together. Select one of them. So I click on the drop down and I decide, do I want to do the 5 cans of tuna fish or the 7 cups of chocolate milk? So I can pick whichever one I want. So I'm going to pick tuna because that's the first one that comes up. And it asks me to put in the number of cans. So the number of cans I could do with a variable and then replace that with a number later. So it says enter a variable to represent the number. So since it's cans of tuna, I'm going to do T. And I'm going to press enter. Now I'm going to do the same thing for the number of cups of milk. So I'm going to click cups of milk, and I'm going to use a different variable for cups of chocolate milk. I'm going to use C for chocolate milk. Now it says enter the constant of proportionality for the ratio. The constant of proportionality in this case is the ratio, that means it's a fraction, of the number of cans of tuna to the number of cans or number of cups of chocolate milk. So tuna will be the top number, chocolate milk will be the bottom number. So if I go back up to the top, it tells me that I have 5 cans of tuna, so that's 5. And I'm going to do the slash button to make it a fraction. 7 cups of chocolate milk, so I'm going to put the 7 on the bottom, and I'm going to hit return. Now it says write a proportion that shows the relationship between the number of cans of tuna, the number of cups of chocolate milk, and the constant of proportionality. So the constant of proportionality in this case is the ratio of the number of cans of tuna to the number of cups of chocolate milk. So it says to write this proportion. So I want to have that T over C. Enter. Now it says the constant of proportionality, this is the ratio of the number of cans of tuna to the number of cans of chocolate milk. So I'm going to put their numbers in, 5/7. So I put the variables and then I put the constants, the numbers. Now it says to rewrite the proportion as an equation. So I want to select a variable that represents the number of cans of tuna. So I'm going to use the tuna is T. And then I'm going to enter the equation. So what does it say here? What can you do to both sides of the proportion to isolate the variable T? So I'm going to go back over here to this proportion that I did. T over C equals 5/7. So in order to get this T all by itself, I would have to multiply both sides by C. When I multiply the left side by C, I get the C's to cancel. When I multiply the right side by C, I get 5/7 times C. So that's what I'm going to write. I'm going to write, and that's what it says. You can multiply both sides of the proportion by C. So I'm going to say that T equals, put the equal sign in, and I'm going to do the 5/7 to give me the fraction. Now I'm going to use the arrow button to go to the right so I can put the letter C. Now I'm going to press enter. And it has given me the correct answer. It says now that I'm ready to go on to the problem. So I'm going to go to the problem now. So here in the problem, we have a similar situation. Russell owns his own orchard. He plants 7 fruit trees for every 2 nut trees. Fruit trees, nut trees. So I want to start with the number of fruit trees. And so I'm going to do F for fruit trees. Now, for my nut trees, number of nut trees, that'll be my second one, I'm going to use n and press enter. Now it says to enter the constant of proportionality. Now remember, for this, I want to put those numbers in. So I have fruit trees and nut trees. So fruit trees will go on top. That'd be my 7 slash 2. And I'm going to press return. Now it says write a proportion that shows the relationship between the number of fruit trees, number of nut trees, and the constant of proportionality. So I'm going to put my variables on the left side and my fraction on the right side. So the variables will be in a fraction. So I'm going to put the fruit tree on top, slash nut trees, press enter. And I'm going to put my numbers in, 7 slash 2, and press enter. So now I have my complete proportion in there. So now I want to rewrite it as an equation where I am representing the number of fruit trees in terms of the number of nut trees. So I want to solve for one variable. Well, if we remember before, the top variable is an easy one to solve for. So I'm going to solve for f. Now, in order to do that, that means I'm going to multiply the bottom number, or the bottom variable. So I'm going to multiply both sides by n. When I multiply the left side by n, I just get f. So I'm going to enter f equals. Now on the right side, when I multiply by n, I'm going to get the fraction 7 over 2 times n. So I'm going to write that, 7 slash 2. Now remember, I have to use the arrow over button, arrow over, and I'm going to put the n. Now I put enter. So I was able to create my equation that I can use in any situation to solve problems. And then I can press I'm done because I've finished this problem. So I hope that helps you a lot, and I will talk to you soon.